everybody, and welcome to another episode. This is Ria Sekali, your Catholic girl on the radio. Today's episode is titled Communicate. Have you ever been in a situation where you thought, I just can't talk to this person, like they wouldn't understand? I know I have, and I'm pretty sure somewhere along the line you have too. And at that point, I think we tend to think or wish that there was something or someone that can make this conversation easier, that can make this problem become better, and the communication just becomes easier. Well, it turns out there is someone that can make the conversation easier, and that is the Holy Spirit. So today we're going to look at a Bible verse, which is Acts 2:6-14, and we're going to talk about it a little bit, but let's first read that verse and see what happens, or what we get. And now, this was noised abroad, and multitudes came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. And this is basically where at Pentecost, right? So it continues and says, and they were all amazed and marveled, saying to one another, Behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And how hear we every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born? Parthians and Medes and Elamites, and the dwellers of Mesopotamia, and in Judea, and in Cappadocia, and in Pontus, and in Asia, Phrygia, and Pamphylia, don't know how to pronounce those, and Egypt, and all parts of Libya, about Crete, and strangers of Rome, Jews, and proselytes, Cretes, and Arabians. Do we hear them speak in our own tongue the wonderful works of God? And they were all amazed and in doubt, saying to one another, What meant this? Others mocking said, These men are full of wine. But Peter, standing up with the 11, lifted up his voice and said unto them, Men of Judea, and ye that dwell in Jerusalem, be this known unto you, and hearken to my word. So, basically, this is where the Holy Spirit descended upon the disciples. Everyone who was there, regardless of where they were from, they were able to communicate with each other. Those standing there, they marveled at their abilities to understand the apostles, even though each of them spoke in a different language. They had different native tongues, yet for some reason, which is the Holy Spirit, they were able to communicate. Before we continue talking about the power of the Holy Spirit and the power of the ability of the Holy Spirit's presence in our life, let's take a small break and come back. Welcome back, everybody. So we said that the Holy Spirit can speak to others. We can speak to others through the Holy Spirit, even if they're not there, right? He could help us communicate. We saw that through the Acts of the Apostles, and, the same things could happen in our lives. Sometimes we communicate, we can't even communicate even with the dearest people. Like, communicating with the ones you love becomes almost impossible. And I think this is because we want them to see the same thing that we're seeing. But, each person holds their own opinions, and communication becomes almost impossible or very difficult to talk to certain people, especially when you love them so much and you see that they're doing something wrong and they don't. So we ask the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit kind of transforms both sides. If I'm wrong, then the Holy Spirit will correct me. And even if I'm not wrong, the Holy Spirit is probably going to correct me as well to make me more understanding. And He will ease the communication between between you and that person. These people that verbally speak the same language we do, the ones we love, but somehow we're not able to understand each other. Well, in those times, we can ask the Holy Spirit to guide our conversation. The Holy Spirit can do that. He can soften the blows, right? He can set the person's heart to receive that conversation. And I think if those who stood there with the apostles could understand each other through the Holy Spirit, then the same could happen with us, and the same should happen with us. We should turn to God. We should turn to the Holy Spirit. We should be with Him through everything. And that includes our conversations that are kind of failing because maybe of pride, because of whatever it is that detaches us from each other. And when that happened, we too get a chance to marvel at the work of the Holy Spirit as they did. And He fixes the broken situations within us or between us. And I think the Holy Spirit He is so important. And I really want to, kind of point to the fact that through the Holy Spirit, we can pray for people we don't know. There's the fires in Australia or whatever, when Australia was very largely on fire, people would say, okay, pray for Australia. Or when California was on fire, people would say, pray for California. Where did this prayer go? I really think that the Holy Spirit takes our prayers and dispenses them to the correct people, or to the correct situations, or to ease situations. And even if there's a famous singer that you love, why don't you pray for that person? Maybe God put them on your mind and in your radio so that you can pray for them. Because they need your prayers. They need your love. And the Holy Spirit will take your prayers and He will do something with it. He will change them. He will help them. He will guide them. Even though you don't know them. You can speak to people across the world, people you don't know, people you hear stories about. Maybe people you haven't even met. But simply happen to read an article with a name in it in a certain situation. Pray for that person. Pray for their heart. Pray for their conversion. Pray for their healing. And the Holy Spirit will undoubtedly make sure that the communication between you and that person is there. He will make sure that that person does receive the graces, even if you don't know it yet. God, the Holy Spirit will speak between you both, because He is good, you guys. All right, so let's take a small little break and come back and talk a little bit more about communicating. All right, welcome back, everybody. So, if today you don't know what to say to someone, pray. Pray and trust in God's mercy. If you don't know how to diffuse the situation, pray. Pray and trust in God's mercy. He will diffuse the situation. Continuously pray until He answers you. And He will do that. He will guide you. The Holy Spirit will guide your heart, and He will bless the conversation. And you may be given wisdom to know what to say. Maybe you're given wisdom to not say anything. But trust in God, and He will show you the way. Always remember that reconciling the differences starts with God. He can open our minds to understand each other, even when what is spoken is foreign to our ears. Let God be the center. Whether it's in marriage or in any other relationship. Blessed Fulton Sheen wrote a book called 3 to Get Married. And whenever I say the title, people pause and what do you mean? Well, then they soon figure it out that 3 to Get Married is you, your spouse and God. God is at the center of that marriage, and God is at that center of that union. And we know that marriage is basically hinged on communication. How well do you communicate with each other? How well do you understand each other? Even if you don't think the same way, how much do you sacrifice or lay down your life for one another? And I really think that Christ is the mediator of all these conversations. And so within marriages, you tend to have fights, and to reconcile them, my ultimate guess really is to go to God. If we think about Saint Joseph and Mary came to Saint Joseph and she told him the story. She told him the story of the angel. She told him the story that she is now pregnant with God's son. And I'm sure he didn't believe her at first. He probably reacted, maybe, was upset, maybe told her to go away. I don't know. But all I know is that at one point, St. Joseph must have knelt down and prayed. And he went back to God, and God made sure that the communication between him and Mary was eased. That there were no misunderstanding, that it was clear to St. Joseph that Mary did nothing wrong. In fact, she accepted God's will, and she accepted his love, and she said yes to God's plan. And when there's a misunderstanding, God knows, and the Holy Spirit will guide your conversation. And so he says something to keep in mind: for where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there I am with them. He's there. He's here with us today. This is Matthew 18:20. I really hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I had fun with you guys. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to follow. If you want to communicate with me, it's at The Word with Frida, and I'm really excited to talk to you all. I will see you guys. I will be with you guys. Not see you, but I will be with you guys next week. Bye!